Lars, thank you again for being here, sir. We've been trying to get this together for a bit now, but we're finally doing it. We're finally here, and I'm very appreciative of you coming
I
on, sir.
dropped the ball because I took a week break from Instagram and then completely forgot our correspondence on there.
Good. No,
So
that's good. You need that. You need that disassociation.
now
Um,
I'm recharged for this interview.
and then we're gonna get you right back off. Right? This is it.
Yeah.
You're,
No,
you're
I'm
on, and
deleting
then
my account after this and
and,
Zoom.
and we're done. We're done here.
Including
That's it.
music. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just
A goodbye interview, the exit interview of my life. Yeah.
Well, I'm a pleasure that I'm the one able to host it.
Cool.
I know you've been a part of a lot of projects over your career in music, but I wanted to start here with you. When did you become interested in music?
Uh I became interested in music mostly because I stole a skateboard when I was in I think my freshman year of high school. I was obsessed with skateboarding and wanted to impress some shitty kids in the neighborhood who stole people's skateboards. So I did that. It was totally out of character for me.
You got to win
And
favor somehow. You got to do
yeah,
it.
totally. Kill a cop? Sure, I'll do it.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys
Whatever it
like me?
takes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I did that. I got grounded from skateboarding for like the whole summer because my parents were like mortified,
The whole summer. Ooh.
rightfully. But my dad was very cool because he knew that I was like playing guitar at a friend's house and kind of into it. So like my birthday was around that time, and he got me a guitar from the local store, and I was allowed to do that. And so my friend that not the guy I was trying to impress, just actual cool friend, he played guitar and showed me like how to play the intro to Purple Haze and Metallica 1 and Day Tripper completely wrong. And so I would play those three things like all summer. But that was where, that's when I like first got into an instrument and stuff, and then got my skateboard back, and it kind of took a back seat to skateboarding again. But I think that was the beginning of it. So
Now, did you eventually learn how to play Day Tripper proper?
I did, because my uncle, who is like a great musician, he came for that summer, and he's like, "Oh, what do you know? Let me show you some stuff." And I was like, "I know, here's Purple Haze intro." Then Metallica 1, he probably didn't know, and then Day Tripper, he's like, "That's not quite how it goes. Do you want to?" And then he showed me how to play it, and I was like, "Oh, Day Tripper by the Beatles." Like, I didn't even know what song I was playing. I was just copying my friend. Like, yeah, that is right.
Wow. I mean, it was corrected though, nonetheless.
Yes.
And this was in the Bay Area, correct?
This is in Bakersfield, California.
All right. So yeah, right down the street, right
Right.
down the road there.
Yeah, where the pollution comes to rest.
Sure.
Central
Good
Valley.
good
Yeah.
neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So music once again took a back seat to skateboarding.
It did for a little bit, but I mean that I picked up like skateboarding again, and that was my main interest. But then like senior year of high school, I kind of got more into music, and Nirvana came out, and you were like, wait, you could play these songs on the guitar. I got into like learning. I wasn't making up my own stuff yet, but I got obsessed with Nirvana and figured out that I could play like all of the songs off of Nevermind. And that was like a big thing of like, oh shit, like anybody you could you could make this album if you had $1 million and a way better singing voice, and a drummer and a bass player, and we're talented. But that's all you need.
Yeah, that's it. Simple. Yeah.
A few ingredients. I don't have these, but
a few million ingredients, and then you're there. That's it.
But something about that of like, it's this, like, because those songs were easy to sing and play at the same time too. So it was like, oh, like that's got me into like wanting to start a band and stuff. And then the next big thing was, there was not very many, I was young, 18 or, in high school, and they started doing shows at Castaic Lake near Magic Mountain that were big outdoor shows that were all ages. And the first thing I saw was Porno for Pyros with Rage Against the Machine, which I loved. And then the next show was Sonic Youth with Mudhoney and Pavement opening.
Wow.
And when I saw Pavement, it was like before Slanted and Enchanted came out. And it was the Nirvana thing again. It was like, oh, these guys can't even play. Like, they're worse than Nirvana is. They're almost as bad as me, but they rip, and these songs are great, and they're making their weakness their strength. And that was a big eye-opening thing of like, okay, that I can't picture being Rage Against the Machine or Porno for Pyros, but I can see myself like being in Pavement. And they ruled. They were so good and so sloppy and like totally didn't care. And it was like one of the best shows. Well, I've seen not very many shows, Cyndi Lauper. And damn.
Hey, that's a good one.
Better than Cyndi Lauper.
And that's saying something there. That's saying something with that statement.
Now I think they're both the exact same good, but
so I mean, it's really accessibility and seeing other people do it that you thought, okay, I could do this as well.
For sure.
Gotcha. Now, at what it was around that time that you started kind of trying to form your own group or join somebody else's?
I had a kind of a band in high school, sort of, but that was right when I was about moving to Seattle. So then I moved to Seattle and had a band. Yeah, started playing in bands around then. But it took a while to like, it's all just a hodgepodge of other people's identities for a while. You're doing like a collage of like, you know, what you like, and like it was copycatting a lot of things for many years.
Sure, but I mean, you're finding your own way.
Yeah.
Sure. What drew you up to Seattle?
Some Bakersfield is like kind of a town that like I think you either like stay in forever or you move from as soon as you can. And I knew a couple friends that moved to Seattle, and they said that you could stay in our basement until you find a place. And I was like, I'm out of here. So
was it tapes that were the main mode of listening to music when you got into music?
Yeah, which is funny because the first thing that comes to mind is Metallica on a dubbed over tape, which I guess, they liked that at first, and then it was Napster later, which I agree.
Yeah, then they were like, no more, putting the foot down.
Yeah, tons of taping cassettes. And then another thing was, I had a skateboard friend that was he was older than me. He was like in his 20s when I was like 16, and he was really tall, and we would go to the Warehouse. Warehouse was like a Sam Goody type of music store, and he would like steal tapes by subtly opening the package in the store and then putting the cassette not in the box on his head under his hat. I mean, was tall enough that he would walk out over the sensors. So that's how he like shoplifted from the Warehouse.
That's a smart move. Now, was this before the casings, you know, like the plastic stuff?
Okay. Like he's the reason that those got invented, and they were like, yeah, we need a lockbox on this.
Did you have records? Were you into records, vinyls?
Yeah, well, I was into records because like starting in them, they were cheaper than CDs were. So when I had I love this just because it makes me sound cool, but I was given Black Flag, My War, and Smith's Louder Than Bombs. And those were the two records that I had for like years. And then when I moved to Seattle, I saw this band, The Fallouts, play. And I went to go get their CD, and they only had a record. And I was like, oh, I could buy a third record. And so I bought that. But back then, like records were like, a CD was probably $12.99 and records were like $7.99 or even cheaper.
Wow.
So that's, that was why I was buying records for years, which I still do, but it's weird for them to come out and be like as expensive as they are when the technology hasn't changed. And you also know how much making your own records, that they're $6 a piece. So
inflation.
Lana Del Rey, you're destroying the industry.
Yeah. That's Taylor Swift.
I'm on her just because I saw the record was like $45, and I was like, that's wild.
And worth every penny.
Yes. We left Lana Del Rey here.
Sure. Big fan of the podcast. She listens. Yeah.
In fact, she's up next.
She's next week, but this week is about you. So I mean, you're in Seattle, and you're kind of you're getting more into the music scene over there.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
I was there for then like 20 years, and that's where I moved back to California in 2011, but that was where I played in most of the bands that I started in.
like, what was the A-Frames? Was that in Seattle, or was
Yeah,
that?
that was A-Frames and Intelligence started right at the same time, pretty much like same year. And that was 99 is when the first Intelligence 7-inch came out, and the A-Frames came out right before that. So yeah.
Quick secession.
Well, we started our own label to put out the first two 7-inches because no one was interested in us, and we wouldn't have had any idea how to like get signed or something. It was like, seems easier to save up $600 and just make your own 7-inch. So
Yeah. And then that's how mostly all these record labels are made.
Yeah, the old being on Spotify was you start your own 7-inch label.
How did that feel? Did that feel like oh wow, we're really making stuff happen now that we have this record out, and we're doing our own thing?
Yeah, it was. I remember it being really exciting to like fill out the forms, know that you would have this physical thing, and there was nothing to compare it to. It was like, I have a green Intelligence 7-inch with no cover because I didn't get finished in time, and that is the equivalent to Lana Del Rey's 7-inch or whatever. It's like, it just there weren't metrics and all the shit that like we look at now to depress us, because the metaverse insists that we're depressed, so we stay on it. That's true, but I'm kidding. But
Kind of kidding.
it was like, you were like, I'm legit. Like, there's, I don't know. And also you put it out and you assumed like the whole world's listening to this. Like, we sent it off and like everybody's listening to the 7-inch at home. There's nothing to tell me otherwise. There's like, okay, I spent the money on this. I now have 300 green records in my apartment. There's no, you're not online. You're only getting feedback from your 3 friends and your girlfriend who are like, it's amazing. So you're like, okay, cool. Like, it was a great time to be alive. I'm sure I found a way to be depressed then too, but
Sure.
it was exciting. Yeah.
Were you just selling these at shows that you were playing? Like, hey,
I was
buy one.
totally. And I remember that like the covers didn't get done in time. So I would just carry around a bag, like my regular shoulder bag, and I would just have records in there and just give them to people, my friends at shows or whatever. And for a while, it was funny to see those show up on eBay, because it was like, this I know for sure is a free record because it didn't have a cover on it. So I don't know.
The discreet packaging is what it was.
Yeah.
And then, so I mean, from there, and this is 1999 that we're talking about right now. Wow.
Purple Rain time. Wait.
No, the other one.
Pre-Purple Rain.
What was the scene? Was a lot of people, were a lot of people doing the same thing at that time in that area?
Maybe, but we didn't know about it because it was like, that's why all the bands like the Intelligence and the A-Frames and Unnatural Helpers and the Diapers, they all had the same members in it, because we just we had a scene, and we didn't, until we met the Spits, there was like, I guess there was garage rock stuff that we liked, but we couldn't get on those bills or anything. So we just sort of made our own insular world for ourselves. Like,
again, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah. And then once you do that, then people sort of care or pay attention to it or whatever. It's like law of attraction, man. Like, as soon as you let go, then everything comes to you. No, I think we felt out of sorts there because it was like, we were slightly weird. Intelligence started pretty garagey, but it has a weird chord here and there. So, or I don't know, maybe we were like elitist as a like defense mechanism too. It's like nobody understands us.
Nobody understands us because we're true and we're different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We don't even have, cover art for our
Totally.
singles.
We can't even be bothered. Like everyone
No,
else gives a shit. We don't care, man.
this is true art
Talking about this sounds like caring. So
in retrospect.
yeah.
Uh, so at what point did you, because you spent some time in San Francisco after Seattle?
Kind of. I moved to LA, and then as soon as I moved to LA in January 2011, and I think around March was when the OCs asked me to come up and record, and they asked me to join the band. So I would go to San Francisco for practice and stay with Dwyer from the OCs, had a spare bedroom. Um, and I would stay up there for like a week at a time at the most, but I didn't like ever have a place or live there. It was just like for the time I was in the band, I would come up for shows and come up to rehearse and stuff. But even that was like not super frequent.
Right. How did that kind of come about that you ended up in that group?
It was amazing because I loved Dwyer when I met him when they came through. They played with Michael Yonkers opening, the Coach Whips opened for Michael Yonkers at the Sunset, and I was obsessed with Michael Yonkers' Micro Miniature Love album. I must have been aware of the Coach Whips, but I certainly didn't know Dwyer. And we fucked around, found out we missed the show, got there late. But Dwyer was there in the audience because the Coach Whips had opened for him. And then he said, he asked if the A-Frames would play Portland with him the next night, which I knew we wouldn't, but I said, well, the Intelligence could do it because we could do anything. We have
green vinyl.
We actually had
whatever
we have green vinyl. Yeah. It was a new version of the band because the Intelligence was always changing, but we had like 4 songs or something. But I just liked his energy and like doing weird stuff like that. And I was like, we'll come down and play it. So we went down and just hit it off with him. So we were like buddies right away. And then we ended up being on the same label, Narnak Records, who would fly us out to New York City to do cool stuff like play CMJ or play with the Fall or whatever. And we would both stay at Narnak owner's apartment and partying and becoming friends and stuff. So we'd been friends for years. I'd been a fan of all the stuff he did, of everything, tons of all his bands. And almost like, I wouldn't say competitive, but super inspired by how good the OCs, when they were called OCS, once they asked Bridget to join, I feel like it, like that era Sucks Blood record, I was super like, I want to make something better than this. Not as good. I was like, better than this.
Right. Healthy competition. Like,
yeah. It was like fun competition of like sending him the CD, like when it was done, and, would get great feedback. He was a super supportive, awesome friend in that regard, and loved going to San Francisco, and he would fix all of our broken shit for us. And he was just a great guy. Is a great guy. So I was in California and he invited me to come up and play on the record, which was Carrion Crawler, and just called and said, do you want to come up and record? And I was like, yeah. And I think he may have sent me some songs, but I don't even think he did. I think he just said, come up and play second drums. And I remember I walked in and he was like, we're working on The Dream, just follow Mike. And I don't think they even played it for it. Like, we did it maybe twice or something.
Wow.
But I sort of learned the beat from what Mike was doing. And he would, in my memory, I know we didn't do it a bunch of times, but it was like literally drive from Bakersfield to Sacramento, 5 hours, get out of the car and like sit at this second drum set they have set up and just like follow Mike. And it was, God, that was so great. Cause that song is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm hearing it for the first time and just like trying to copy this weird can beat. And then, but also like playing off of Mike Schoen, because I knew the band because we had played a bunch of great shows together and stuff. So we're all friends, but it was like a very surreal moment. But also then you had no clue what the OCs were going to become too. I mean,
no, this was 2011,
like small potatoes like us. So it's not like, oh my God, this is going to be the dream. This is another good song on an album of 300 albums that they're going to put out.
Right.
So
And
So that way it wasn't like stressful. It was just fun. I wanted to do a good job, but I wasn't like, oh fuck, I'm in the OCs. Like I just thought I was coming up to add to recording. And on the last day, then he's like out of nowhere just went, so do you want to join the band? And I was like, yes.
uh,
Yeah.
what year are we talking about? Around it is 2010,
Yeah,
2011.
I think it's 2011.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, going back to the dream. I mean, that's crazy that you just walked in there basically bare and just got that down. Were
Yeah.
you playing with Mike simultaneously, like while just listening to were you guys tracking it or?
Tracking it, I think possibly not even with headphones, but it's Woodhouse, so I'm sure there was headphones. But it was like I walked in to a place called the Hangar that we had recorded Intelligence there, and they did a bunch of OC's records there with Chris Woodhouse. But they just had a little drum kit, kick, snare. I don't think it even had a rack tom, kick, snare, and floor tom maybe, and one cymbal, hi-hat. I didn't even adjust the pedal or anything. He's like, also Dwyer is like, I don't know if you know him, but he's like, he works quick, he's bossy, he doesn't fuck around with basically all the shit that would make you go insane and stress out. He's just like, there's a drum kit, just follow him. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, and you don't have time to like second guess it or overthink it or anything.
Just get it done.
Yeah. So
He's a non bullshitter.
yeah. I mean, look at you can tell.
Yeah. With the amount of stuff that he's put out. Yeah, definitely. And
the other thing that was great about that was I did a lot of stuff because we recorded a bunch of extra things that ended up being stuff that came out in that era, like a split with Total Control and I think a 7-inch, some other things. But I was doing all kinds of stuff like playing, he said, bring it, keyboards and all kinds of stuff. So there's like, I was playing guitar on some songs, playing keyboards. I had a point to this. Oh, the point was that like the songs I didn't play on that record, I got to just stand there and like watch them play. And it to this day is one of my coolest music experiences because they were playing the song Heavy Doctor, which is one of my favorite songs on there, which I had never heard. And they did it in like 2 takes or something. But I just got to like sit there and watch them play the song with PD, Mike, and Bridget and just go, this is like people would kill in the future to watch what I'm watching right now. Just
right.
Because it's like they were so tight. The songs were so original. They were such a good band. It was like miles beyond what we had been sort of like competitive and made sense, but that Intelligence and them, but that was where I was like, oh, they're on some like next level shit here to me.
Right. That's it. Yeah. And of course, like you said, those songs went on to garner a lot of attention and success.
And we would play it on those tours and it was like the dream just like crushed like every night. It was like, this is such a great song. And to this day, I love watching them. I love that it's like still in the set list because it's like, you know,
it can't not be. It's I would say it's a staple song out of the many songs that are
Sweet
associated.
Home Alabama.
Sure, that's an American classic at this point. Now, were you in the first kind of set of double drummers for the band? Was that
the first double drummer that they did? Yeah, but
setting the precedence.
Yeah, so I mean, because I have to say that because I'm like, when they got drummers after me, it was like, well, because Mike is such a good drummer, and I'm a like,
I'll say it, good drummer.
Thank you. That's what I was searching for. Great drummer. I was gonna say.
I know where I gotta come in. I know what beat I gotta be in.
I'm a caveman drummer. I don't have like chops and all that stuff. I can play, beats that I like and back myself up and whatever. But every person they got next was like, that person is a drummer. That person knows how to tune a snare drum and like knows what stick sizes are. And beyond being like everybody who's been in the band has been a great drummer. Right. So I had like a little bit of imposter syndrome when I loved doing it, but I was like, if I stop playing, we're still just as loud because Mike Schoen is like an insane drummer. I'm playing like, he's playing the hard beat and I'm playing like the half beat of it. Like
filling it in. Yeah.
Do I need to be here? But
You did though. You did. I mean, because it would have sounded different if you weren't. I mean, there for the dream, for example.
Well, I would hope there's like the nicest thing my friend said was like, well, there's you can't account for vibe. And he's like, you're adding a different color that wasn't there. And I was like, okay, I like this like non-technical thing.
That's definitely true. But to get into specifics, I mean, real no.
What color? Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, it seems like you and John have the same thing of always kind of trying to change, never staying at the same sort of pace, if you will, or level. Always kind of bringing something new to the table or adding something different and replacing it with another.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean it.
He means it, folks.
I mean it. All right. I
Great.
looked into the camera. Yeah, let's get my producer. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I have a guy with
my
a
security
board.
guards. He's being serious.
Yeah. Now, did you also sing in the OCs as well?
I sang a song that never came out.
Okay.
That's why I'm broke still. Thanks a lot. No, we recorded a bunch of extra stuff, and I just like we tried one of mine that was, I think, better than the dream, but I'm just joking. It was an okay intelligent stuff. But no, I didn't. No, that's not true. I sang on the song Sewer Fire.
Yeah, that's what I thought that you did vocals on, and that's a really, really great song.
Thank you.
I really, really enjoy that one.
I love that song. And a funny story about that is he sent me the practice space recording, and it's pretty much the song is done. And at the end of it, he goes, that just sounds like the Intelligence. And so like to the band or something, I think the riff, whatever. Maybe it kind of does, but he's like, why don't you sing this song? And so I just I liked what all the vocal is like just what he was doing anyway. So I just copied him instead of make up my own thing and sang it in my like kind of Yelp high voice.
Yeah, there's some great echo on that mic. It sounds,
Yeah. Thank you.
That is legitimately one of the best songs of the OC's catalog. I'd say it really stands out to me. I'm not just saying that,
Thank
Lars.
you very much. Well, it's because the bass line is not anything I did. The bass line is so good, and the Pink Floyd reference in it, I think it's funny. It's just a rad song. Keyboards are great. I just copied what he was singing on this demo pretty much and wrote words for it. Still, I helped.
A great color to be added.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. And you were in that band for a few months or a year?
I think it was not even a year. It felt like a year, but it was not quite a year, I think, technically. Because we did a lot of touring, which I was not used to. The Intelligence toured a fair amount, but they were like, that's how they made their living. So we played like in that short amount of time toured, like the Intelligence would tour once or twice a year, maybe, but we went on a bunch of tours and played on the Bruise Cruise in Florida and went to Australia and did a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
It might have been a year. I can't remember.
That's a busy year.
Yeah, it was great. It was so awesome too, because it was great to get like a break from overthinking the Intelligence so much, because I just moved and didn't know how I wanted to put the band together or whatever. So it was fun to just be in a great project that I didn't have to really make any decisions in or anything.
Right. It was good to step back for a minute and be a part of something else.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm the boss too. Let me get back to being the boss, actually.
From there, from exiting your time in the OCs, how did you go about taking the Intelligence to the next kind of level or phase?
That we put a different band together, kind of. What happened? We had been playing with Susanna was playing keyboards and Brim was playing drums, and they both moved and couldn't do a European tour we had coming up. So I put it together with Dave Hernandez and Drew Church and Pete Capone. And because I hadn't They're all people like before the band was kind of lazy and we didn't like to practice and didn't like to do much. And all lived out of town. So we would practice for 2 days and then go on a US tour or something. So,
ample time to get
dude, I
everything
mean,
together.
I saw Pavement and I was like, dude, trying is dumb. Like, so
why the fuck would I do that?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, they're gonna pay us $150 whether we practice a whole bunch or not.
Like, if we just show up, we load in, we'll figure it out.
Exactly. We're saving money.
We're getting paid to practice. We will get it together.
And by the time we get to New York, we'll be in shape.
Tip top.
This is actually all true. And so it was a band that was like restructuring it in that way was like everybody, they were good musicians, not to say the others weren't, they were, but like they like to practice and they like to talk about the set in the band. They were just ready to make it great. And we had a super good vibe. And I hadn't been the boss for a year. So I was like ready to do it, but like in new ways that I had learned, actually with a lot of kindness and empathy, which might have been missing in some regards. But yeah, it just stepped us up. And then playing with, I mean, you play in the OCs and you watch what they do to an audience and you watch what they do with their songs. And it was like, it makes you quit or elevate your game, I think.
Right. It's either
even close, but it was like definitely inspiring.
Giving you a breathing new air or showing new ability.
Showing new ability and wanting to be a really good live band in the studio. So when we made Vintage Future, we made Everybody's Got It Easy But Me at the same time I was in the OCs, but that experience of like not playing all the music myself, but having everybody else do the drums and have it sound like a good live band, that started with that record. And then I wanted to continue it with Vintage Future. And so like we didn't practice then either, but we had time. They were good enough that like we didn't really have to. So
reverting back to old ways.
We'll like, how can we not do anything? I have an idea. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. That's how we sort of changed in that.
It definitely does. I like the answer. Now how long are we looking at? 12 years into this project now at this point, right around 99 to 2011, 2012.
There's no way to mathematically figure out from 2012 to 99.
13
I thought it was, I guess yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now did that shift influence where you are today?
The shift back then? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it made me, I am not so, we went down that path. And then the record we made after Vintage Future, which is on Psychedelic in PV City, that's even more of a like, I love the Breeders, and I love the Breeders album Pod, which just is like really stripped down and doesn't have overdubs on it. It's just like people playing in a room. Like I wanted to kind of chase that sound, which we did, and I was happy about it, and I kind of kept doing it. But then the pandemic happened and I made this album in the same circumstances that I was like, this is not that fun to listen to, and it just sounds like a maybe as good or better version of the last record, but it's not doing much. And then I think the mind melt of the pandemic and like, what is music even for? Like, I was like, I want to make something more original than this, and something that like, the best thing that happened to me was like, I was able to like tune out the fictional audience and make a record that sounds more like me than like what I think the next Intelligence record is supposed to sound like to a fictional fan base in my head or something like that. You know what I mean? When you're making stuff, it's like ties. I'm sure in this podcast, you're like, what question should I ask next?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
But overthinking it and being stupid. And it was like, what's the point of this thing? The thing you like best was making music on a 4-track by yourself and seeing what the results were going to be when you had no plan. And so that's what I got to with the latest record and sort of where I'm at now.
Did that reflectionary period of like dropping what you were working on and kind of taking a step back, did that was I mean in hindsight, was that needed in order to get what you wanted out of it, out of
Yeah,
new
because I
record?
was sort of drilling into like what is not that fun about music, which is, I don't know, like expectation more than like true inspiration, maybe. I wouldn't have noticed that at the time, but as soon as I didn't know if I was even making an album, I was just recording for fun to listen to by myself the results at the end of the day. Um, and not caring if because I didn't know if we'd play live. So I was like, well, now, before, in the back of your mind when you're writing a song is like, well, if this is really good, how are we going to play it live? And from shedding that of like, oh, we'll probably never play live, like I may never even have a band again, that made me free to use drum machines and make all kinds of like recording experiments that I had kind of gotten away from as I was focusing on the live band being good,
But now you're fucked.
essentially.
All
No.
right.
We could actually play these songs, but it took us a year of practicing them. So
That's not like you. That's not. That's whoa. That's yeah. It was
it's not like we
straying from the norm.
totally. But it's like, it's what's cool is like, because like I was saying, I'm realizing this in real time as we're singing this, but I was like, oh man, we went from like not practicing at all. And if the song didn't sound good in 10 seconds, then I would just go, forget it. Let's pick a different song. We have 6 albums to choose from. So we'd play all the easiest stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to do that this time. We're going to like, this song doesn't sound very good. We're going to work on this for like weeks, like a real band does, and like
Wild.
get good. Even
Uh,
because the OCs practiced like so religiously. I wasn't in San Francisco, but they were playing like 4 days a week. All the songs that we had done on tour all the time. And I was like, that is such an insane work ethic. I'll end up hating playing those songs if I do it that much, but it was an inspiration to go like, that's how you become the best band in the world, is like, you don't care if today's fun, you put the work in to like be that good.
Now, Lars, I don't think you're gonna like this assessment that I'm about to say, but I gotta say it. With you not being there for the 4 days each week of practicing all these songs, and you were still able to hang on and do what you needed to be done, or do what needed to be done, and performing at the level that you were, that kind of shows the kind of musician that you are. That you didn't need to. I mean, you didn't need to be there to be with it, like getting in the groove and finding where you need, especially with double drumming. Like that's insane that was, and you were the pioneer of this
It was
idea.
Dwyer's idea, but yeah,
All right,
I
you were
love that.
you were trailblazing with Dwyer with this,
Yeah,
and something that's still going on now. That says something.
it was a good idea. I was like, I don't think that's going to work. And he was like, I mean, Mike was easy to play with, and I just stared at his snare. And I remember he's like, okay, like, to just focus on him and follow him. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm not going to say, hey, better drummer, come this way.
Yeah. I've talked to both Dan Rincon and Paul Quattrone a couple times on this podcast, and I've asked them, like how, because I also drum. I could never do it. It doesn't make any sense how it's working and it's
Yeah.
moving through. And I've seen the live recordings of when you were in there with Mike, and it just doesn't compute with me. And I've asked them, like, what is your tactic on doing this? He's like, just got to listen, really
Mm.
focus in on what the other person is doing, and from whoever was saying it, either Dan or Phil. And it's just it's insane that it seems like you just gotta block everything else out that's happening and
Well,
coordinate.
it's funny. It's something I'm learning to this day, that is like, I think when you're playing music, you think your goal is to like talk or make a sound. And it's like, you sound better listening to the other people, like, which I guess I kind of always was, but um, I've just noticed it more recently. That's like, wait, when we turn down and like, if it's not sounding well, it's usually because I'm focused on what I'm doing too much. And if I relax a little and listen to the bass and the drums and let my, this is like a weird tangent, but
No. The muscle memory. I totally understand what you're saying. If you're focused in on something too intently, it tends to not result in what you want it to. But if you kind of take a step back and look at it, observe it, not so close, you're still there, but you're paying attention to other things, and you're letting that guide what you're doing.
totally. And your priority is not to make your statement anymore, but to be like, how do I blend in with this group? I think.
Right.
You know,
Right.
why do you followed that? Thank you.
I was right there with you. Yeah. Yeah, that is an interesting way of doing things. And I mean, things always happen differently for everybody, but that could be assessed in any sort of manner, whatever you're working on. Definitely.
That's
Um,
that's why I kind of spaced out. I was like, this is a metaphor for like all of life, actually.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, I smoked a joint before this, so I totally get it.
I love that. I had a ton of coffee. Well, not a ton. This isn't a ton, and it's only here.
I mean, coffee's amazing. Are you more of a coffee or tea person?
I there's a scene in Deadwood when they offer this dude tea, and he's like, I should become more acquainted with tea. That's I don't drink tea hardly ever.
No, I don't either. I can't stand it. Coffee, great. Tea,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know what it is. I think I just need the bitterness of
Tea, like
coffee.
twice a month, I'll remember it exists and I'll have some sort of nighttime tea, but I forget it exists unless someone offers it to me or something.
Right. And I mean, maybe we're hitting the quota of the month real late this month, but nevertheless, it's gonna be ingested.
Exactly.
Making it by the right at the tail end here.
Which leads us to our sponsor, Lipton.
Yeah, it's brisk. It's brisk
Brisk.
this time. Yeah, Lipton. Give me a call back. We'll work again, but I'm not. Yeah, I gotta bleep the name. I'm not working for free here. From leaving DOCs, so you didn't live in San Francisco. You're still living in LA at the time, and you've been there since.
Yes.
Has moving around, and especially from Seattle to LA, has that impacted the music that you've been making as well?
I think, I mean, yeah, I think it's cliche, but I think that just my mood improved from, I don't know how, I wouldn't say it was like, deep seasonal affective disorder, but I do notice that like more sunlight had an impact. So I think that affects you just overall. And so I think that I don't know, it's just easier to function. I did spend a lot of time writing music in a dark rooms in Seattle, but I don't know if it's getting older or whatever, but something about it definitely, like, I think more sunshine just made it brighter.
It sounds different when you're in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Where you write on a cloudy day.
Yeah.
Think about Nirvana. Maybe it would have sounded way different.
Damn, no kidding. It would sound like Tame Impala.
It's just one guy, right?
I invented that in 1999.
No, I wrote that. I had it as a demo when I visited Australia, and I left at the bus station. And this kid just comes up with it. Okay, so now I'm out. Where did the name the intelligence come from? Where did you where did that come from? That idea?
It came initially because I thought it sounded like, my idea for it was kind of like surfy spy music, like Henry Mancini and James Bond and that kind of stuff. Like that's how I wanted to play guitar. So the intelligence sounded a little bit like a band that would fit in that. But then the real idea was like, I had just had a band break up, a couple of them. I didn't love the names of those. And they were also like democratic bands where like each person, whatever they play, makes that decision. And I had borrowed a 4-track, started recording by myself, and the not having anybody to argue with or what, making all the decisions myself, it occurred to me that it was like, oh, if I do it this way, then this project could last forever. And so to me,
You
it was
gotta be the
like
boss.
it's, well, it's like, and it's a mean way to say it, like the intent, like I figured it out, guys. Like you were the problem the whole time. But what's come full circle is that now it's like I do think that idea is still the same, but it's more like I could spend my whole life doing this project, which is making up music by myself, which is it's my favorite thing to do. It's a freedom from, you can pick up, you can write music when you're sad, you can think about it when you're distracted, you can do all that stuff. I think it's a lovely gift to be obsessed with, like, rather than something that's harmful. Like, because I'm sitting around thinking of drum beats or playing an instrument or like thinking about it in some capacity, like all the time. So I don't know. I
So
realize,
you don't think about it much. It's just kind of if you feel inspired.
yeah,
It comes in ways when you think about music.
I think
It's not just every day, constantly.
no, not like in like white knuckling, just like, please stop,
No.
please stop. I have to make an album to like free the demons. No, I just think it's like, it's a lovely thing to be like obsessed with.
Healthy obsession.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if you got into another medium of art that you would have made as much as you have with this band? Like if you were painting or sculpting or doing something else, do you think that you'd have this drive there? It'd be the same amount of drive that you
I
have
think
now?
I just started doing like, not exactly painting, but like a kind of visual art stuff. I've done some of the covers and have a little bit of hand in that, but I've started like, working at a table and like making a thing, the cover for this next album. And then that's transformed into this, making stuff like that. And it's super similar. Like, I think my way of playing music is the same that I've talked with painter friends of mine, is like, the way to have an artistic project without needing anybody else, I think the appeal of like painting for a lot of people is like, you just go in a room and you make the thing. And so it definitely has a similar wavelength. And when I get consumed by it, which is only for a couple of hours, whereas music, I sort of know how to do better. So I can do that for like many hours. If I'm working on a recording or something until I can't take it anymore or something, I can do that like all day. But I think it would have balanced it out maybe a little bit more. But I wouldn't have had a clue other than make an album cover. I don't know what to really do with art.
I mean, that's your so no more intelligence. That's done.
No. Yeah.
Only album cover art only.
Yeah, without the music. And then for $40 next to Lana Del Rey, that's the intelligence coming in.
I really hope Lana Del Rey reached out to you and say, "Hey, let's do it. Let's fucking work together. Let's make the album cover that a lot of people are gonna see."
Yeah, I can do it in 10 minutes. Like,
it's already done.
It's finished.
I was hoping you would come by soon because it just got done drawing. So
Here
it is.
At the meeting with the fanning the wet watercolor.
Yes. Funny you mentioned that. Open up a briefcase.
In a briefcase, yeah. Oh, it seems to have smeared on my way over here, but I think that makes it
which I intended for. I needed to transport it this way, so it would look like this.
Smear case that, yeah, it's about smearing it on the way here.
This is a desired result.
Yeah,
this is why in my mind, yeah.
In fact, not for sale. Close the case, leave the meeting.
Yeah.
Make them want you.
Yeah, exactly. Make them call. Turn the tables on them. Fun. Through the 24 years of the intelligence, there's been some people coming in and coming out, and is that crucial for this project, that some people leave and fresh blood comes in and then they leave and somebody replaces them?
I used to bother me a lot, and I wished that we were like a, you know, core band of regular people. So I was striving for it to like look like that and be like that, but it didn't work out that way. And I think it was a blessing now. And a friend of mine, said it in a really nice way for this album, like seeing that there's a new band, and she's like, I love how you do it because you sort of have this like core family for a while that informs the project, and then you move. And it's like, it's not like I do that on purpose. It's because the band makes no money, and like people move and all kinds of
And life happens.
life happens. And so, but looking at it that way, where, because I was just looking at it like, why isn't the band always the same thing, and desperately trying to keep it together. And I was like, no, actually this is nice, because a really good drummer will quit, and then I need to play the drums. And I think having to constantly reinvent it in some way, I used to think it was our curse, but it's our blessing now, because I read enough Eckhart Tolle to be insane. So Oprah's Eckhart Tolle.
Can we do we have permission to clear his name? Can we nudge? Okay. Okay, well we'll figure that out. If it's in here, hey, thank you. If not, just bleep it. You can guess who we're talking about.
I don't know how to do it for me. When you look sideways, it really works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at yeah, we don't have a mic on him, so it's not gonna pick up. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying with the working on stuff. Right, this is just me. This is and it's nice. It gives you a freedom of sorts. It's like, okay, well, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask anybody when are they going to pick up their end of the couch.
Totally. We will scrape the floors, God damn it, but the couch will be where I want it.
Could you have made the amount of different kind of sounds and records and all this without having people changing spots and stuff?
I don't think so. I think I, at the different times, would have thought that I just wanted it to be one lineup for the whole time. And it started with, I mean, I've liked every lineup. But no, I think I think it's been helpful to, I'm the same person writing the same song over and over. So I think like having to sometimes play all the instruments or get better people to do it or record at home or those things are what has like made it different.
Now, yeah, recently you did release this second album under your own name, right?
Yeah. It came out I think a year ago.
Yeah. What made you want to put out something under your own name separate from the Intelligence?
For some reason, I don't care anymore, but for some reason I didn't want to be real prolific. Like I didn't like when you go into a record store and there's just like, you're like, I don't know. People say that any band, not any band, there's a few.
Lana Del Rey.
Use her for or The Fall. What did you say?
I said Lana Del Rey. We'll use
Lana Del Rey, for instance. Like, just make two and we're good. But like, that wasn't, I don't know if it was the time or something. There was something like, I think having a large catalog to me sort of minimized that you hadn't made a grand artistic statement like Nevermind, which I don't agree with anymore. I would rather keep busy and make a lot of cool things. But I think it was initially the idea was to just, we don't really need another Intelligence record. And I don't know what's going on with that. And so that probably started the idea. But the main idea was, if I don't call it the Intelligence, then I can write songs and make a record is not in any kind of response to the last. I want the next Intelligence record to always be better than the last one. I think most people probably feel that way. This might
be a common consensus.
Let's make a real turkey this time, so the next one seems better. But I was like, well, also the band was in Seattle, and I didn't want to change the lineup, but I wanted to make music while I was in LA, and it just seemed a good way to like shake the snow globe or something, or like change it up, because it was like, well, it just made me write songs differently, in my opinion, because it wasn't like, oh, this is, I've already done something like this, or it's in response to the last 10 albums or whatever. So that alone gave me like a reset to go like, oh, let's use horns on this, and let's be more experimental than I would have with the Intelligence. And then then I was like, well, no one even knows of these. I also thought, I was like, what if I'm Lars Finberg, that might be new, and like maybe more people would pay attention. And it was the opposite, even though everybody told me that anyway.
Until now.
Until now, this is gonna go crazy. But
hey, good luck buying a copy of any of the albums.
Well, I love like these new metrics where Spotify sends you your monthly listeners, and it's like, what is this? I doubt this even makes Rihanna happy. I don't think getting a like number for this feels good. But anyway, it made me take that experimental thing, was like, oh, I'll just like apply this to the Intelligence more easily, because I had branched out in this like
different way.
Lars Finberg different way, I
think. Did any of those songs from the 2 albums? It's 2 albums right now, right?
There is a third one, but it's not.
It's coming out soon. It's coming out next week, right?
I'm still working on it.
We'll get the on that later. Were any of those songs, looking back on it in hindsight, able to make it onto an Intelligence record? Did it sound any way that it could be associated?
I'm sure most people cannot tell any kind of the difference. Like, I'm sure it's me singing, it's me writing the songs, but we play the solo songs in the Intelligence set now. So I know it's not a huge departure. It was more just like a way to mentally reset.
So you're being sneaky about it. You're putting it in there. And they say, wait, hold on. I thought this was a separate thing.
Yeah, it's not. The idea I said it's not that, guys.
You got it all wrong. It's not what I said. It's what I meant.
Yes, but I'm deciding in real time now. But regardless, you guys are wrong. The takeaway from this.
Either way, I mean, and I'm the boss, so what I say goes.
Right. I'm not even going to watch this, so there's no one to argue with.
This is it. What do you want people to take away from, whether it be your own name, Lars Finberg, or the Intelligence's music?
Joy. I love it being an inspiration to people. That's what I would want the most is like someone to hear it and go, oh, I could do that, in the same way that my favorite bands did that.
Cyndi Lauper. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was like too easy.
That's it.
Get a bunch of people to play it, and
that's it. Get 7 people to play the instrumental. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing, is that it makes other people want to play music. I think it's like the more play music, doing art, whatever. I think it's just gardening, hang gliding, making a podcast. Like, I just think like the creative pursuit is like super rewarding, and I would hope to like pass that forward. And I would hope to like, I think the music is really good. And I would hope to be like a link in a chain for somebody to go like, I want to steal that keyboard part, or the things that I'm doing all the time. It's like, oh, like this song's amazing, I'm gonna steal that singing voice, and like, be in the eternal chain of creative music.
Yeah. So Lana, just come out with it. Lana, just come on. Just set us straight.
This is not serious.
We know that you inspire her, and I just want to hear it. Honestly, that's the truth needs to come out.
Yeah, it's for joy.
She's always at the concerts. I see her stories.
On every time we play. Say
every
hi.
time. Yeah, never does.
Is
We'll
it
get
because
her
I
to say
make
hi.
fun of you in every podcast I go on? I'm kidding. And I'm insecure. It's why we bring you up.
Yeah, that's why everybody brings you up. Yeah, including myself.
I pirated the song Video Games 1,000 years ago.
Allegedly. Allegedly. We would never do that, ASCAP.
I
Oh,
don't know what
is she
Pirate
here?
Bay is.
I'm not a sailor, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pirate is Bay. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't ring a bell. That wasn't me. I'm barely on the internet. I'm not even on Instagram anymore. So it's just you're asking the wrong guy. Look, I just make the album covers. That's me. That's all I do. Lars, thank you so much for coming on, sir. I really, really appreciate it.
I had such a good time talking to you, man. Thanks for having me and taking the time to do it.
Well, thank you for coming on, sir. But before I let you go, I got some promo to do. So,
okay.
The Intelligence's music is streaming everywhere, right? Wherever the people get their Spotify, Apple, all this.
I'm an
all
Apple
stuff.
Music guy. People make fun of that.
I do YouTube.
I have an Apple phone.
I get grief. I don't have a YouTube phone, but I understand where you're coming from.
YouTube's gonna send you a phone after this gets enough hits.
Yeah, let's do it, YouTube. And the people can stream the newest LP, Lil Pearl, right? That's the newest release.
Lil Peril.
Prill. Yes, that's what I said the first time.
Back to porno providers. Obsessed with Perry Farrell. It's a reference to that.
Here we go. And people can buy that at Mount Saint Mountain. Do I have that correct, right?
Yes.
And that's spelled MTSTMTN.com. That's the best place.
I'm showing MT.STMTN.
Whatever it is, it'll be linked below of whatever you're listening to. So,
yeah.
And there's some other releases that you can purchase through the Bandcamp, which is theintelligence.bandcamp.com. And I'm pretty sure I have that correct. And again, that'll be linked below with whatever the correct address is. And you can stay up to date with everything else by following them on Instagram at @the_intelligence. Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. I had to double check myself on that. Yeah, at @the_intelligence. And Lars's solo music is also streaming everywhere, and you can also find his album Tinnitus Tonight.
Pretty sure it's Tonight. Then people say tinnitus, and I'm like, then it loses the joke of tonight is the night. So
Tonight is tonight.
Yeah.
And that is tonight. Okay, I don't know. He left.
Explaining jokes is always helpful, right?
And that could also be found at mountsaintmountain.com, as well as other releases on your Bandcamp, which is lars.finberg.bandcamp.com. And is that people can stay up to date with what you're doing in general on Instagram, which he is always on, and he's just joking that he's going to leave. He's always going to be there.
Open right now. There's stories playing in the background that
just content for you to consume. It's always there.
Yeah.
And that's at Lars_Finberg on Instagram. Stay up to date with everything else. Now, Lars, do we have anything else to promote?
I don't think so. Law of attraction.
It's true. I mean, yeah. Who's your favorite theorist now? Lars, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to stop recording this. I'll talk to you in a minute, okay?
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.